I'd like to get started. The subject today is, when is democracy? And what do people take it for that they so urgently want it? In the dictionary, this, rule by the people, is what you find in every dictionary. In some dictionaries, you also find the second definition along with it, where there's a tendency to equality. Some of the suggestions of what equality might mean, because the word alone means nothing, is equality before the law, equality of rights, equality of opportunity, equality of education. You can be thinking each time in which countries, the one you live in or other countries, you feel this takes place. The difference between a democracy in the legal sense of the word and a republic is that democracy is actually originally what now is called participatory democracy, and that is direct rule by the people, whereas a republic is where the people elect a representative. Now, there are many other words and notions that we've come to associate with democracy, things like a writ of habeas corpus. Does everybody know what that is? No. The writ of habeas, does anybody know what that is? Really? A person has a right not just to disappear, but that it has to be acknowledged that the person is taken. He has a right to representation, and he is considered innocent until proven guilty. It's all in there somewhere. You will find, although that we've come to treasure that, and I must say I treasure it as one of the most important rights, however little it may exist, it is not in all countries that call themselves democracy. There are many countries in the world that call themselves democracies that do not have that. So it belongs to a particular legal system that exists mainly in Anglo-Saxon countries and not in all countries that call themselves democracies. Also, for instance, we associate no censorship with democracy. Again, these are separate things that have been fought for in certain democratic countries that have enough money to allow themselves no censorship. There are certain rights and privileges that can be given in advanced industrial societies because those societies have enough money to counterbalance any knowledge that is acquired by citizens and any propaganda. Direct propaganda and indirect propaganda through films, through clothes, through all kinds of comforts and joys that people want so much that they're willing to give up their participation in making the decisions that rule them in exchange for having nice-looking things. Cars, nice houses, frilly curtains. All of these things are seducers away from making decisions that rule your life. They don't belong to democracy, but they allow people to think they choose, where actually they only select. They select among a number of things that make no difference to the people who rule. The people who rule want you to buy, but what you buy doesn't make any difference to them at all. The number of people who probably make the decisions in every country that calls itself democratic today is probably not terribly different than the number of people in a dictatorship. It is the means by which they do it that is different. Democracy has become the buzzword of the 90s. It's interesting that if you read about third world countries, where there used to be the word development as a cover-up for exploitation, there's now the word democracy. It seems to have such a pleasant ring for everybody. Capitalism is an economic system that is presently supposed to accompany democracy in most countries. Capitalism is when the value of what the producer produces, you can always put worker for producer, minus her or his wages, belongs to the owner of the means of production. That is where he gets his money from. I mean, it's then inherited and all those things. But constant money coming in the capitalist class, and that's called the rate of exploitation. If I work for 10 hours or 8 hours and produce products, radios, whatever, that are worth $400, and for that time I am paid $200 or $100, then the other $300 go to the owner of the means of production. And that's what we call surplus value. And it is the basis of capitalism. One more point I want to make, because there's much confusion about that. And that is, there is a big difference between economics and finance. And they also should not be confused. There's also, people always say, money is the root of all evil. The money that we have in hand, those few dollar bills, don't make any difference. They're just tokens. And whether they exist or don't exist doesn't make any difference, and getting rid of them is not going to change anything. Finance is something else, and usury is something else. And if I have no money and I'm sitting somewhere where people are starving, and I have a cellar full of potatoes, and I give somebody 20 potatoes on the condition that when it comes about, he has to give me back 30 potatoes, then I become a potato shark.
Weird image.
It is not a matter of money, it's a matter of scarcity. And as long as we have scarcity, we'll have usury. As long as we have scarcity, we'll have usury. And not as long as we have money.
Wait, what's usury?
Usury is lending somebody something and getting more back than you lent. Where money is more convenient is it doesn't rot like a potato. Nor do diamonds, nor does wood. There are lots of things that don't rot. But to have it in a symbolic form, which doesn't really have any value at all, because there's nothing you can do with money. You can't eat it, you can't live in it.
You can burn it.
You can burn it. So it's only a belief. Because we believe in it, it functions.
So you're saying that those people who think, well, if we just got rid of money, you know, everything would be much better. You're saying that behind the money is the principle of usury.
Yes, it's the principle of scarcity. What resources, if we think about it now, what resources are missing for most of us? Money. It is a resource of society because it does do that purchasing for us, and we don't have enough. That doesn't mean there isn't enough money in the world, but it's a resource that we don't have enough of. Whereas there's a problem in high finance that there's too much money.
You said as long as there's scarcity, there'll be usury.
Mm-hmm.
Can it also be the other way around? As long as there is usury, there'll be scarcity.
I don't quite want to turn it around. It certainly doesn't help get rid of scarcity, but I think it's more important that there be an analysis of what actually is there and how the language about it functions. That would help more than, because I think one could take the power away from usury if people realized that it's there.
Taking Jeff's statement that scarcity is something that is created rather than something that exists, and that's why I like turning it around also, because just saying what you said doesn't imply that scarcity is something that's created, or it implies that it exists.
But as long as the language still speaks of scarcity where it doesn't exist, people will make use of it. But as long as the language still speaks of scarcity where it doesn't exist, people will make use of it for their purposes. So it's the language about it, the way we speak about it, has to change before anything else can change.
And the way that
And then I think the two are interlocking and will leave us, if they leave it all at the same time.
right, and I think that what Jeff said changes the language that we use, because it implies that scarcity is something that exists for a reason and is made oftentimes.
But it makes it look as if the reason is usury, and it's not.
It buys into the separation, fragmentation.
Yes.
This is the cause,
Yes,
rather than seeing the connectedness of the area.
yeah. That's what I'd also say with that. It's the connectedness and not one before the other or one after the other. It's the circularity of it. And wherever you point, it's the wrong place.
When you turn it around, scarcity is another thing. It's a tool. In the original version, it is the situation. We think that usurers can generate artificial scarcity.
Yes.
That's what cornering the market is. And that's what he refers to. And Jeff did not say it. He only thought it.
Related to all this is what we call the markets, and the stock markets and other markets, where you actually invest something and the money you have, the value you have, increases without any production. That's a major problem in economics at the moment, is that people are investing more and more in the things that really have no value, that are just bonds, and one doesn't yet know. Everybody expects things to explode, but they keep going. We don't know how long they'll go. But it certainly has a lot to do with the fact that there are so many unemployed, because money isn't being put where there's a production and where there's going to be employment. So this is the whole realm of finance, where the danger lies. And if in a society that we build up, we have little coupons that are useful for exchange purposes, I don't know if they'll be needed or not, but that is not the point. And I find it always, if people point at a dollar bill and say, no, you just got to get rid of that. There's a mysticism in that.
Do you have any problem with sharing this information?
I have no problems. If somebody jumps on me and says, this is too simplistic, then you have to say yes. It is. But it gives some kind of general notion about something that I think causes a lot of confusion. And unless I spend a lot more time.
One more thing for now.
It was considered for a while that you put street lights up where beyond my house, and it's paid by taxes. That's socialism. There was an uproar in this country about things like that. Building streets for other people, and not taking toll for it. Pure socialism, a library. It's all socialist. One always thinks of socialized medicine. What does it mean? It actually just means for the benefit of society instead of for the benefit of the industry and the doctors.